Whoa, this is muted. Hi, hello. Sorry, I thought I unmuted this, but this was not unmuted. But hi, welcome back to another episode of Case 5, DGS2. We were previously talking about the Asogi files, and now we're getting into the details about where the Asogi file was, because the will is obviously not the file, since it doesn't explain or say anything mentions about a weapon. So we're pressing the statements now, because we just heard testimonies for it. From, the two. From not Bar Block. I'm spacing out. I forgot the name of the frickin' prison place. It will come back to me eventually. Sorry. The Asogi files. We already did this, so we're just pressing. We are pressing here. You mean Asogi Genshin's kimono? And give me 1 second, because I need to move the thing. Thank you. Well, of course! He brought it to his cell with him. I believe I heard that he was permitted to bring personal effects into his cell. That's right. He was permitted as much freedom as possible in the days leading up to his execution.
He brought everything he owned to his cell with him, as if loath to part with it. His books, his kimonos, and his katana.
Even his katana?
It's the famous sword Karama, which has been passed down through generations in my family. You could even call it the soul of the Asogi clan.
Yeah, well, that may be, but... It seems like he could have used that as his ace up his sleeve. Talk about dangerous.
Don't be rude.
I didn't even say anything. He just has the face. The cells are usually watched over by a jailer with a gun, and the prisoners have chains around their legs. It would have been impossible for him to hurt anyone with it. Yet, the only thing he was forbidden from bringing in were writing tools. Precisely. That's why he had to write his will before he was led to his cell.
Mikotoba brought Japanese-style writing utensils to the prosecutor's office, and he used those to write it.
Ink and an inkstone, and some calligraphy paper. I was present while he wrote it, but if you'll permit me to say, those letters just look like black squiggles to me. Alright, Broke's still here. Hi! I was like, what is this third one? May I, Dame Watchin-san? Honey. Dame Watchin-san.
Yes, sir. It was Scarlet.
Scarlet?
Pardon me. I unintentionally blurted out what I was thinking, didn't I?
Hey, no, come on! Just tell me what you're talking about! Did something come to you upon hearing the testimony just now?
It might be more accurate to say that something didn't come to me.
It seems like he's really at a loss over something. Your Honor, the defense requests an addition to the testimony about this, thing that isn't coming to him.
I suppose I have no choice.
Right? Now then, Dame Watchin-san, please go ahead.
It was Scarlet. It was Scarlet. As far as I can recall, the writing on the document was in scarlet ink.
It's scarlet ink? Right, we're gonna present something. I believe in the autopsy for Clint, or Crimmett, excuse me, there was a mention about some, like, red thing on his hands? Where is it? Is it the 5th page? Yes, it is. Okay, it's this one. We have to present Krimit's autopsy report. I'd venture a guess, Dame Watchin-san, that you actually saw those scarlet letters.
Huh?
Ridiculous! Where did you find proof of... Please look at this report. That's my brother's autopsy report. These autopsy's observations have been bothering me for a while. It says that there were scarlet ink stains on some of the fingers of his right hand.
That's true.
Scarlet?
I don't know much about how English aristocrats live, but do they normally walk around with ink stains on their fingers? As if. My brother Krimit was a noble and fastidious man. If he got ink on his fingers, he'd have wiped it off immediately.
What are you getting at, Defense?
This means that Lord Krimit Van Zeeks wrote something in scarlet ink just before his death. And right after that, he died.
What?
There was something that bothered me at the time. The lid to the inkwell on his desk at the crime scene was left open. Hey! It was unlike my methodical brother. That's what I thought at the time. Additionally, we never managed to find any documents written in ink of that color at the crime scene.
So the document vanished from the crime scene. That can't mean that the document my dad was seen holding in his cell was...
something Lord Krimit Van Zeeks wrote just before his death. Just before his death. If Dame Watchin-san's testimony is to be believed, then that's what it would mean. Dame Watchin-san!
Yes, sir.
When you saw the document Asogi Genshin had in his cell, it seems that this is what he said.
All right then. So, what is that document?
My will. This will is my final weapon.
The will.
If this is true, then Asogi Genshin's words actually held a completely different meaning from what we'd assume. You can't mean. The thing that Dame Watchin-san saw really was a will, but it wasn't the will of Asogi Genshin. It was the last will and testament of Lord Krimit Van Zeeks.
What?
What a twist! But... oh! But... my brother had a will. But that would mean that he'd gone willingly to his death. That's what it would mean, yes. But that's impossible! Completely and utterly! Van Zeek-sama. My brother put his whole heart and soul into chasing down the professor at the time. No matter what had happened, he never would have just abandoned the investigation like that. Until he'd captured the murderer and all the loose ends had been tied up. Him choosing his own death would have been unthinkable.
Even so, the fact remains that he wrote something right before his death in scarlet ink.
And He then gave it to Asogi Genshin. What on earth could have been written in it?
That, of course, was never once made public, I'm sure. After all, Asogi Genshin used it as a weapon in a deal with the English judicial system. That's precisely why that large-scale jailbreak plan was enacted. Because that will contained a big enough secret to warrant it.
A huge secret. Ah! No way! We're getting somewhere.
That's enough! There's no use debating a will that may or may not have ever existed in the first place any further.
That won't work, Your Honor.
What?
The thing in Asogi Genshin's possession was the last will and testament of Lord Van Zeek's. It's a possibility that we've been led to by all the testimony and evidence we've seen so far. We must pursue this until the end.
But so long as the contents are unknown, there's nothing to discuss.
Oh my god, are you okay, Baroque? I don't... who is really the professor now? The reason that noble knight Crimit Van Zeeks would have chosen his own death. A huge secret that the English judicial system was willing to make a deal in order to protect. The answer is... a single fact that would completely overturn everything we thought we knew. But that answer is just so... Naruhodō-sama. Regardless of how painful the answer is, you must side with your client and gaze upon the truth. I believe that is what you said you were resolved to do. Susato-san. And pausing 1 second. My apologies, my dog... he tried to open the door and he successfully managed to open the door. My dogs are too smart! Anyway. So, let's continue. This is the time to move forward. Yes, you're right. 10 years ago, Lord Crimit Van Zeeks used his final moments to leave a will. And Asogi Genshin considered that will to be a weapon. That must mean that the contents has something to do with the professor.
That's no more than conjecture.
What are you trying to say? I think he's coming to the conclusion too.
Naruhodo.
The moment I say this, there'll be no turning back. The contents of Lord Crimit Van Zeek's will were a report, an accusation, a confession. A confession. I'm so sorry, Baroque. Naruhodō-sama. Lord Crimit Van Zeek's will likely contained a confession.
A confession?
Regarding the true identity of the serial killer, the professor. Wait, do you have any idea what you're saying? I like that attention to detail because that badge that's on his coat is his brother, so he clung on to it. That's really good detail right there. A confession about the professor's true identity would mean... I understand how you must feel, Lord Van Zieks. But that's the only thing we can conclude. 10 years ago, the true identity of the man known as the Professor, who had all of London quaking, and who took the lives of 5 aristocrats and royals, was not a Sogi Genshin.
You can't mean... But...
It was the person assumed to be the 5th victim. Lord Crimmet Van Zieks! Ah!
So it's opened at last. The door sealed by darkness.
The members of the House of Van Zieks are thoroughbreds of the legal world.
And even among them, Lord Klimt was a symbol of justice here in London.
To think that his real identity was that of a merciless serial killer.
If the public found out about this, that would be the end of our nation's judicial system.
My brother was... Van Zieks-sama, you poor thing. Did he really never once suspect his brother? Huh? Lord Baroque Van Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor. Did he really not have any idea about his brother's true identity?
Order! Order! Order!
Lord Van Zieks. I've heard that the professor used a huge dog as his weapon. Did your brother own a dog? Yes, he did. Balmung. He was a well-known dog and a massive hunting hound.
Oh my god.
My brother always brought that dog with him when he go hunting in the forest behind his manor. When my brother died, a dog followed him into death as well. He was such a remarkable hunting hound that he was given a leather collar to wear, studded with magnificent jewels. Hey! Hey! When... Do we remember Case 2 in this game where we found a certain collar and with blood on it? A leather collar? Yes, that's right. However, several years ago, his manor was hit by a cat burglar, and it's no longer there. A jewel-encrusted collar, stolen by a cat burglar. Actually, we just so happen to have seen that collar. What? The collar had a family crest on it in aged pure gold. It was a large ornate letter B. There was a large ornate letter B with an impressive crown design. What? A crest with a B? Are you familiar with it? That was the crest of the House of Baskerville. What? Baskerville? I didn't expect that name to come up here. The Baskervilles were my brother's wife's family. It was one of the family jewels she brought with her when she married into the Van Zieks family. There can be no mistake. That was Balmung's collar. Lord Crimmet Van Zieks' wife's family crest. The collar had a large amount of blood stains on it. If it belonged to a hunting hound, then perhaps it was only the blood of its prey, but...
There's a high possibility that was the blood of his human prey.
Then it's true.
Lord Crimmet Van Zieks was the professor.
Impossible!
Damn these Japanese, spewing terrifying conjecture like that.
The one who took the lives of those 5 aristocrats and members of the royal family was himself a member of the English aristocracy, a symbol of justice. That was a huge scandal that could have brought the law and order of the Great British Empire crumbling down.
My dad used that secret as a weapon in his deal with the Great British Empire. And at the last second, he was betrayed and lost his life in this foreign land.
Well, what do you have to say about that, Lord Vortex? Ooh.
It's been 10 years. The 6 million citizens of the massive imperial city of London still believe that the serial killer that rocked the Great British Empire was executed without his identity ever being learned. Very well. I'll tell you everything.
You will? So then, Clement Van Zieks was...
Klimt Van Zieks was tragically pure. He became a prosecutor, and in the course of chasing down evil, he realized he was chasing himself. And finally, he came to a certain conclusion. In order to truly chase down evil, one has to become an evil that surpasses that.
Brother. Ripperoni! This got grim real quick, Jesus! Not the studded brother he is anymore! Holy crap.
The 19th century in the Great British Empire. To the rest of the world, it was a miraculous century. New industry, new technology, and a new form of public order, in the form of the Metropolitan Police. However, the darkness of the shadow cast by that shining splendor was truly deep. The industry polluted our water and turned the air a smoggy yellow. And then there were the ever-increasing crimes. Lord Klimt Van Zieks fought desperately against that darkness. And somewhere along the way, he himself ended up being swallowed by it. It's truly shocking that the truth was reached like this. And by a pair of Japanese people, of all things.
What do you mean, of all things?
"10 years ago, your father, Genshin, visited my office. The professor, you say?
Yes, I'm certain of it. I need a warrant right away.
What nonsense. He's from the noblest family of all, and a symbol of justice.
That's precisely why you English aren't able to see that you're being fooled. He's using his aristocracy as a front to commit his crimes behind.
I trust you have proof.
I don't have any decisive proof right now, But the fact remains that he owns a massive hound at his manor. The man's an aristocrat. I need the cooperation of the English judicial system for this.
Every noteworthy family owns hunting hounds. It's a given in our country. Apologies, but I won't mobilize Scotland Yard just because of some guest's accusation. I shot down Genshin's proposal at the time. He visited Van Zeek's manor alone that night. As for what happened between the two of them after that, all we can do is guess. And, that very night, Lord Klimt Van Zeeks died.
Dear Lord. So that means that Kazuma-sama's father really did. Did he do the same thing as Lord Klimt Van Zeeks? He put a stop to the professor permanently by using the very extreme method of taking his life. So, Baroque got it right that Asogi did kill someone, his brother at least, but that's about it.
When I rushed to the manor and saw the scene of the crime, it told me what had happened.
And what about the will at that time?
Genshin must have already taken it. It wasn't at the scene of the crime. We didn't even know that such a thing existed. The only one who knew the professor's true identity was me. So I resolved to protect that secret forever.
So you confess? You admit to everything?
So, you're saying you pinned the crime on my dad?
I had to do whatever it took to protect the Great British judicial system. Even if that meant using unforgivable means.
So then, the one who planted this fake evidence?
I gave the order to the detective in order to keep the truth hidden.
Detective Gregson.
Naturally, the detective resolutely refused at first.
But we can't go around doing things like that. We just can't.
There's no doubt that the one who killed Lord Klimt Van Zeeks was Asogi. The servants that night saw Asogi fleeing the scene.
I know who did it was that Oriental. But there wasn't a single piece of decisive evidence. Besides, he doesn't own a dog that could have been used as a weapon.
We're out of time, Detective Gregson. We have to stop his crime spree. This is for the good of the Great British Empire. No matter what means we must use. Don't you agree, Detective?
Well... "10 years ago, I was attacked by several night prowlers on a back alley in London. Does that mean that those night prowlers who stole Asogi's ring from him were... Detective Gregson, and those he had employed to help him?"
That night, the detective must have handed the stolen ring over to the coroner, Dr. Watson. And while no one was looking, he pretended to discover it in the victim's body.
Asogi Genshin accepted a guilty verdict as a result of the forged evidence. However, behind the scenes, Asogi Genshin and the English judicial system struck a deal, didn't they? A deal that he confessed to the crimes and silently accept the guilty verdict.
However, there's one thing I just can't believe. From what I knew of him, no one would have hated a deal like that more than my dad.
It was incredibly easy to get that Japanese man to yield. After all, he had a crippling weakness.
My dad, a weakness?
Naturally, it was you, Asogi Kazuma.
Me?
Do you not want to return home to Japan, Mr. Asogi?
What?
I believe I heard that you have a 14-year-old son. If you promise to obediently accept a guilty verdict and cooperate with us, you can return to your homeland and see your son.
How cowardly!
Either way, your trial will be conducted in the utmost secrecy, on the orders of the Queen. No matter what claims you make in that courtroom, we will crush them. The fate that awaits you is execution.
You'd best not forget that I've got a final weapon up my sleeve. It's a will, proving the fact that you fear of what you fear most? Wait, it's a will proving the fact that you fear most. Okay, whatever. It didn't sound right in my head for a moment.
I know. That's why I'm proposing a deal. All I want is to protect the great British legal system. Now, what say you, Mr. Asogi? Tick-tock.
Kazuma. What a dirty bastard. That's horrible.
He did that for me?
I told him this as well, but I only had one goal. To protect the great British judicial system, no matter what I had to do.
Regardless of what happened, I never thought such a thing until just now. However, now the time has come for me to question. The central figure behind the Grim Reaper of Old Bailey. Was it you, Lord Heart Vortex?
Quite a splendid idea, don't you think, Lord Baroque Van Zeeks?
Alright, I think this is a good stopping point. We've gotten really over, but I think we're going to discuss the Grim Reaper stuff in the next video at this point because we just revealed a lot of things already in this footage, so I'll see you guys then!
Nani? Okay, I had to try that at least once.
So it's opened at last. The door sealed by darkness. Kingdom Hearts!
Kingdom Hearts is light!